Hi guys, I'm going to take you through how to set up an Ultimaker. This is the Ultimaker 2 Plus with HEPA filter on the top to help extraction, material feed at the back, SD card bottom left to read your 3D files. Yeah, so I'm going to show you how to set it up from the start process right to the end, the material change, and then removing your model from the glass bed. So first of all, what we need to do is load the material. In this case, we've got material already stored on it, so I'm going to rotate the machine and then we're going to remove that material and then install a brand new reel of PLA material. So to do that, what you do is you go to material. This is a very simple setup basically. You've got three options here. You've got print, material, maintenance. So use this dial on the right hand side, and then that will scroll through, as you can see. So we're going to go to material, and then to activate that option we push that dial in. We're going to go to change. The head will come to the front and then it will heat up. So it's got to heat up to break away the PLA which is already in that nozzle. So it takes a few seconds to heat up, and then it will start the process of removing that material. So as you can hear, there's a wheel at the back of the machine that rotates and then pulls the PLA back through the nozzle, back through this tube, and then recycles it back onto the material store. So once we've done that, I'm going to rotate this printer just so you can see the back of it. So here we go. So this is where the material is. As you can see, it leaves a bit of a mess, but all we have to do is to remove this is you've got a little catch here. Push this up, pull it out, make sure you bring all of this excess material through, unclip it so you've got two pincers there on the moulding, push them in and then it easily releases. And then if you can rotate this or ravel it back up again nice and neatly, and then what it has is a nice little detail. So you have two holes, and if you poke it through there, it retains it, so it keeps it nice and clean. So what we're going to do is we're going to open up a new box of material and then load that back on. As you'll see, this is a new reel of PLA material. Exactly the same. They've locked it into those two holes, so to release it, the best way to do it is just get some pliers, keep your thumb on that bit because it will spring open, and then just break it. What you're trying to do is create a really nice end of the PLA so it feeds through this system really nicely. So to load this on, you just push it onto this moulded piece there, and the plastic needs to reel from the bottom up. Just makes it a lot easier for it to flow through the system. So on the underside here you've got a little metal insert and it has to go through there. Once you push it through there, it will come to a stop and you can't push it any further. You then need to push that up. That allows you to then engage it into the wheel, which then rotates and feeds the PLA up. So that's all we need to do on that side. If I rotate it back, so here we go. Now I just need to press this ready icon. So what it does, it literally tells you every stage you need to go through. So if I press this, so we've removed the material. If I press ready, we're going to select the PLA. Again, just being careful because this will rotate through the options. So we press that as carefully as you can. So it's asking us to insert the new material. It's just slowly feeding through the tube. So once we know that it's clear of the mechanical part of it and we can see it in this clear tube at the back, we can press ready, and it should, in theory, speed up that process. Here we go, so it's forwarding material, you'll see it rotate and push it all the way through. Here it comes. And what that does, it loads it onto the hot end. So that hot end, as you can see, is now melting the PLA. So we know that that's engaged in the hot end, it's heating up, it's exactly what we want to see, and it's ready to start printing. So it's wait till material comes out of the nozzle, which it is. We press ready, and that's it. So it will home itself back into the top left hand position. I'm just going to remove this excess PLA. Close the door. Now what we need to do now is level the bed. So at the minute we're not sure whether that bed is perfectly level. So when it starts printing, if it's not level, the material will stop healing up off of the glass. So it's critical to get that perfectly level. So as that nozzle hits the surface of the bed, it's touching in each of the four corners of that glass. So to do that, we go back into the options. We've been into change, now we're going to return, and that brings us to the homing screen. So we've got print, material and maintenance. So what I need to do now is go to the maintenance screen, which is at the bottom, and we're going to go to build plate. And it tells you exactly what it needs to do. So I'll guide you through the process of adjusting your build plate. So we press continue, and then it says rotate the button until the nozzle is 1 millimeter away from the build plate. So there's 3 points it's going to calibrate. So we've got the back where it is at the minute, and then we're going to calibrate at the front too as well. At the back we're using this scroll wheel to rotate it. So clockwise brings the bed up, anti-clockwise lowers it. At the front it's slightly different. We've got these screws, and then they adjust and then change the depth of the bed. Now I know this ruler is about 1 millimeter thick, so I'm going to use this for the initial stage of this process. So I'm going to put this through, rest it on the bed, and then using the scroller wheel I'm going to raise the bed. It makes a strange noise, but all I'm wanting to do is get it as thereabouts, so you get slight friction on the ruler as you're pulling it through. So that's perfect. I'll remove that. If I press continue, it will come to the left hand side. Now this is slightly different. We don't use the scroller. Instead we use these thumb screws here. So being careful not to put any weight on this bed, because if you do, it's going to lower it and give you a false read. So if I turn clockwise, and there we go, that's that one. So again, clockwise is to raise the bed, anti-clockwise is to lower it. So if I do this last one, making sure that the ruler is nice and level. There we go, perfect. So I press continue. So repeat this step, but now use the sheet of paper to fine tune the build plate. So we're using this calibration card. So this is just slightly thicker than your standard paper that you get from the printer. So what it's going to do is repeat exactly what we've just done. Now sometimes it might be easier just to open the filter head, load that in, and again all we're doing is rotating it clockwise. And there we go. So that's a bit too tight, I think. So just enough to pull it away. You don't want it too tight so you're struggling to pull the card away, because that's too close to the bed and you're going to squash the PLA too much onto the bed and you're not going to get a good print from it. Here we go, and then we'll do this one. So that's quite close. So as I've calibrated the back, it's high, well, moved the front as well. So I'm going to just remove that. There we go. So if I've gone anti-clockwise on this thumb screw, it's just alleviated the pressure on the nozzle. So that's perfect. So press that, and then we'll see what happens on the right hand side. So it should, in theory, be perfectly okay. It's a bit tight, so what I'm going to do, anti-clockwise on the screw. There we go, and then just nip it up slightly so you've got enough. There we go, so I'm going to close the door, press done, and there we go, so we're ready to print. On here should be your G code from your file. So we use a software called Cura. Cura is free to download. It should be accessible on a number of computers, PCs up in your studio space. If not, come down to the Digital Fabrication Workshop, and we've got the computers with it on there. So if you've got a 3D file from Rhino, Google SketchUp, SolidWorks, bring it down as an STL file, and then we can create the G code for a few options. So we put this card in, this SD card, and on there should be a ream of prints, a list of prints that people have done in the past. So we just go to print, it's reading the card, and here we go. So these are all the different prints that people have created. Just to be mindful that these lists get really, really long, so if you've put your name on it, the date, it just makes it a lot easier to find your model. And there we go. That's a how-to guide for setting up the Ultimaker 2 Plus.